Hello, I'm Robin Vincent and welcome to a quick Surface session. Cubase 9 was released today. Yeah, that's quite a thing, so I thought I'd plop it onto the Surface Book and see how that goes. It wasn't exactly a groundbreaking update, but there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I thought it'd be worth checking it out. See how the touch is, see if there's anything which has improved or got better in there, and check out the new features like the thing at the bottom, the sampler thing and the new EQ, something along those lines. There's no new demo song. I always find that disappointing. Brand new version of software, and they haven't gone out to get someone to write a quick tune for them. I mean, I'd write you a tune. You could have asked. I would have written you a tune. You could have a new demo, but no, we've got to use 8 Good Reasons demo song from version 8. But never mind. In case you're wondering, the toolbar here is my own toolbar that I use for touch and the pen, because there's some things that you just can't do very well with touch and pen, so I create a toolbar for it using something called Toolbar Creator. I did a video all about it yesterday. You should go and check that out. So let's have a look then. Well, here we are. This is the main Cubase page. It doesn't really look any different, to be fair. The color scheme's the same, the layout and the look is the same. Let's hide my toolbar for the moment. What's different, of course, is this lower zone layer. Lower zone, did they call it? The lower zone. I don't know. It's the bit at the bottom where the mixer is. That's quite groovy. At the side here, they've also reduced the size of what I like to call the really annoying media bay type window that I can never work out how to get rid of. So the first feature that I'm really excited about is this little buttons up here. Because if I tap that, it goes away. That is all I've ever wanted. I just want it to go away because I don't know what it's for. Well, you know, I do know what it's for, but I don't have reason to look at it or need it on there all the time, and it's always encroaching into my workspace. So I'm very happy to find that there. It used to have this strange sort of pull-on button from the, I don't know, anyway. So that's good, and that's good and gone away. You also have a button here for the bottoms. You can remove that as well. Very simple, very touchable. It's all there. So how is touch? Well, touch is the same. You can grab faders and you can move them about just like you've always been able to do so. Nothing different going on there. It's not multi-touch. You can't move one fader and then move another one at the same time. That ain't happening. So there's been no improvement, no additional functionality as far as touch is concerned. Well, there you go. Screw you, Steinberg. You can resize this bottom layer here by putting your tricky pointer in the right place. Tricky pointer, there we go. The way that the mixer gets bigger and smaller like that is very lovely. It's a good thing which I think came in the last version. I do like that very much. And of course the other thing is that how on earth do you get to see the mixer on another screen? What do you do? Well, you can completely detach it, so don't worry about that. Now for the life of me I can't think how I do that. I'm sure there was a button on one of the other editors. That one, maybe. There we go. There it is, a little arrow over here. I can press on that and there I get the full console that you'd expect to see, that I can then stick onto another screen if I like, or use it separately, and I have access to all the bits and pieces at the top. Groovy. But for the moment we're going to leave it there where it was. The transport bar is also now sort of sucked into the bit at the bottom, very much like Studio One, which of course this is all mirroring. I mean, this sort of layout has been available in doors like Sonar, Studio One, Traction, that kind of thing, all have this similar bottom window arrangement. But with Cubase, of course, it's brand new. Let's call it something new, like, I've still forgotten, lower zone? I don't know. I don't care. But it's there, so the transport control is there. I can, however, bring up the regular transport control if I wish, which is here. So that is all still there. It's not as if they've pulled out a load of stuff to allow for this new layer zone, lower zone. Oh God. It's all still there behind it. So it's an enhancement of the window workspace, and I think a very welcome one. Yeah, I think it's really good. But it also, if you don't like it, you don't want to use it, you don't have to. So that's always the best way to go, in my view. Is there anything new in this workspace? No, not really. Not that I can tell. Ooh. Da, da, da. So let's look at something like Now let's open up the keys. Let's find the piano in here. So I'm going to select the piano part and I'm going to hit edit, which could be a double click or it could be file edit or whatever. And that now opens up rather nicely in the lower zone. And I can get in here and start doing things with it. The pen, of course, is awesome in this kind of editor where you can draw in velocity changes, or indeed you can add notes. Add notes, like so. That's nothing new, not trying to show anything new, I'm just showing the pen and touch working within Cubase 9 and how well that does that. In some ways, I wonder whether you could also have a full screen version of this, so I can make the bottom bit go away. Why can't I make the top bit go away? So what I would like to happen is that when I press edit, that the edit page opens, but also that track then appears at the top, so I have a reference for it. That's what I'd quite like to happen, but that's not there. I can then reposition it up here, but I'm pretty sure I've seen in another DAW, it might have been Bitwig actually, that when you edit it you get that at the top and you can always see the clip that you're editing in the top half as well as you're editing what you're doing in the bottom. But you know, never mind, we only can do what we can do. The other thing you have down here is chord pads. Now this is where you can send different chords to a piano track or an instrument track. So let's select this one and have that work. Let's choose a nice chord. That's in there. Let's choose one for here. So we're doing a bit of D, are we? Let's go for G then. Ooh. Now there's a thing here with the touchiness. I mean, that's what I'm trying to highlight with this video, is how well the touch works or doesn't work particularly. I mean, the chord thing here is a really groovy thing, and you can make chords happen and play those sort of in a live performance way into the instrument. But however, with touch it does not respond very well. I touch it, it doesn't happen. Use the pen, nothing happens. If I click with a mouse, those trigger, so I know what's going on. I can sort of force it if I double tap it. But it's not always successful, and sometimes it cuts off really quickly. But there you are, that bit is also within the lower zone. The other thing, of course, is the sampler control. So let's get into that. But I think what I'll do is start a new project just to get everything nice and clean. Okay, create something nice and empty, like so. I'm going to create a sampler track. So let's go to sampler control. Let's bring in our media bay in the side. Loops and samples. Now we've got this new bank called Kaleidoscope, which has a load of stuff in it. Ooh! Flip! Okay, let's take that one. Stick that in there. So what you do, you drag in the sample, it creates the sample track, and I can play it. That easy. You do have a couple of things down here. You can change the pitch. You have a filter. You can hit the button, you can turn that on as well. You can of course set start and end points. Imagine set loop points as well, I don't know. I haven't looked into it that deeply yet. There is an audio warp part to this over here, but I haven't quite got that to work yet, but I'm not worried about it. But it really is a breeze. It doesn't take any effort at all to make that happen. I mean, let's try putting in some of our own audio. So let's add an audio track. Mono, blah, 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 add a track. There she blows. Do I have any kind of input? So we can record some audio directly in and then use that in the sampler. Let's record, enable, go. Yeah, oh, yeah, ooh, oh, boom. Cool, groovy. Let's use a bit of that then. So I'm going to drag that into there. It's going to create a new sampler track for me. So what I can do is I'm going to pull that up there. Now I wonder if I can duplicate that track. Duplicate. Then I can do a bit of that. And let's duplicate that. Let's have a bit over there. Like that. Yeah, yeah, ooh, yeah, 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 ooh, oh, oh, How groovy is that? Rather groovy, I think you'll find. Yes, indeed. Now, what I can't find in here is if there's any sort of automation controls or LFO, for instance. I'd like to put some movement into that filter, and the filter's all very well, but it kind of sits there unless you're moving it at the time. I would have liked to have seen, maybe there is in here, I don't know, I haven't looked in deep enough perhaps, to find, you know, to perhaps there's an automation lane here somewhere that I can add that to the sample as it's playing back. Well, what would be really cool would be to have an LFO section in here that I could tie to it to get that to move around as I go. But, you know, we're discovering things at the moment. So that's exciting. So let's take that, let's open me thing, let's loop around it. Add inserts. So you've got this little button down the side that swaps between the mixer faders, the inserts, and the sends. So let's go and have a look in here for a bit of delay, shall we? Am I in the wrong one? Oh, I am. Let's put that over there. So what we've got is this frequency EQ here. Which I have to say does look very nice. You've got the piano keyboard at the bottom showing you roughly where the pitch is. You can look at it in a bar graph or with Spectrum. And the great thing about touch is that it gives you good access to these sorts of nodes. Like all of that business. See, that's getting good now. Now what I want to do, actually I'm going to move that down. Put in the pitch correction. So yeah, that was exciting. So the other thing to show, of course, is the mixer history. So let's go into that quick. So let's bring this up a little bit more. Let's make a bit more room for ourselves. I cannot get it. I will get it. There it is. Now the history, I think, exists under this button somewhere. I've got the undo and redo. Where the actual history is, though? That's a good question. Is it here? No. Is it in this button? There. Doodle. History. Which is now where? Where is that? History is enabled. Where the heck is it? I can't see it. Right, well, let's take this off here. History, there we go. Okay, I can see it much easier when I float the window. I don't know if you can get it in the bottom bit. Who knows? We'll find these things out. So if I move something, it becomes a thing. So let's move some stuff around, and then I can step back through those. See, that's interesting because I've now gone back to when those plugins were inserted, and I can go backwards and forwards through the actual insertion of the plugins. That's interesting. I didn't realize it could do that. So when they're talking about a history in the mixing console, they're not just talking about fader and pan movements. They are actually talking about everything. EQ, inserts, effects, everything that you do is now being tracked, which is awesome. I like that a great deal. I'm going to bring up the demo song again just to have a larger mess about. So touch in Cubase 9, it's been the same as it was in 8, in that you do have some pinch to zoom, if you can get that to work. No, I don't. There we go. You see, it is possible. You can zoom in and out that way. You've just got to do it on a track where there isn't anything. Well, you know, there isn't a clip or a piece of audio stuck in that particular bit. But, you know, it's all right, but it's not great. Hence, I have my zoom in buttons on here. See, that's actually probably a bit easier to cope with. You can, of course, move things around with your fingers very easily. This is not like Studio One, where everything has this terrible delay to it. In Cubase, it's instant. It's all there. It's very good. I don't know what I've done there. Let's undo a whole load of stuff. See if we can get this back to how it should be. There we go. Again, from here, I can take pencil split tool and I can split stuff up. Go back to my pencil select tool and I can move things around. If I go to edit, of course, this is a folder track, so I need to open up something. It will now appear in the lower zone. It's down here, which is nice. Let's get rid of that again. And from my menu, I can do duplicate, so I can copy a bit of that, copy, paste. No bother. Does a sample editor appear in the bottom? That's a good question. When we've had the sampler, but if I was to go to edit that itself, yeah, I'd get the sampler window down here as well. So one little thing I've discovered when moving audio from a track into the sampler track is that if you cut up a bit, like I've got here, I've just taken a chunk out of that piece of audio, and I pull that across and drop it on, it doesn't actually just take that bit. So for instance, I've got another chunk here. If I move that over here, no, it keeps taking the entire track. So it's not seeing these as individual bits. However, if I take that and then go to audio, let's hide this bit, audio, bounce selection, replace events, yeah. So this has now become its own piece of audio. I can then drop that in there. So there you go. It's not desperately exciting, but the new layout with the mixer, the sampler track, they're interesting. They're good bits of stuff. Certainly the work they've done on the mixer is awesome. Having the whole bottom layer here works really well, I think, but we already know that because it works really well in Studio One, it works really well in Sonar. So it would work really well in Cubase, and it does. The mix console history is fabulous. That's really good. I can see that being a real winning feature for lots of people, because it's much more than just an undo, as Steinberg have said. And that's exactly right. It records absolutely everything that you do, so you can step to and from different mixes. That's really interesting. The sampler, I think, is ace. I mean, you can just drop a bit of audio on and play with it. I like that a great deal. I think there could be more in there with modulation. I think I'd like to see a lot more modulation opportunities, some LFOs, or some automation drawing you could do directly onto the samples as you play them. Not, later on in the track, but in the actual sample editor itself. That would be really good, I think. The things they've put down the bottom make complete sense. The editors for different things, the chord pads and bits and pieces, yeah, that works. And if you don't want it there, you can just pull it off and stick it on another window, or float it as you normally would. I did wonder about things like whether they could put plug-in GUIs into something in the bottom, into some kind of thing that contains them. But no, the plug-in GUIs just float as they normally do. And that's okay, because Cubase is one of the few DAWs that lets you have multiple GUI windows open, which, if you're using touch, can be very useful indeed. That's a great feature. It's a shame there's been no extra touch elements put in. In fact, some areas, like over here, can actually be a little bit resistant to touch. Well, as we saw in the chord thing as well, I can't always get in there. In fact, that seems to work better with the pen. It just won't do it with the finger, which is a shame. And getting back out of here to the home can also be a bit strugglesome. Is that a word? Strugglesome? But double tapping with the digital pen seems to help in most of those respects. Other things that I was disappointed not to find were that there was no support for MPE, no sort of five-dimensional expression like what you have with the Rolly keyboards, and also that Bitwig has that inside. I would have liked to have seen that now starting to come in with new versions of DAWs. There's also no new instruments as such. There's a lot of stuff from the last version. It's all very good, but there's nothing new and meaty in there. There's also no real change to the editing side of things, so it all edits in a very similar way to which it always has. I mean, the editor here is exactly the same. It's just as it's always been, which is all right, but I would like to see some innovation in that area. I'd like to see a step sequencer. I'd like to see a matrix sequencer. I'd like to see elements within Cubase which allow for the integration of CV and gate control voltages going into and out of the software. That would be interesting. That would be innovative. But no. What Steinberg have done, I think, is that they've kind of stuck to their guns. They've asked their community, what is it that you would like to see happen in Cubase? And they've accomplished that. They've sorted out the mixer, they've added a sampler, they've put in some other refinements in the window handling and such like, and that's all ace. And there's going to be a lot of happy users out there. However, what they haven't done, they haven't pushed the envelope. They haven't stepped into the future and thought, what could be new and exciting? What things could we embrace that's going to kick this out of the park? Well, there's always version 10, I suppose. So there you go. There's my quick rundown of Cubase 9 on the Microsoft Surface Book. Now, tomorrow, I hope I'm going to start making some music on this. I'm going to build a track and demonstrate that with just using my fingers and a pen. Well, MIDI keyboards, maybe, a guitar, my voice, whatever I can find, I'm going to plug into here to see if I can make some music with it. So that'll be fun. That's my project for tomorrow, assuming the phone doesn't ring and other things don't happen. So that'll do. And in the meantime, go and make some tunes.